Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible. If I'm audible, just drop a yes in the chat, please.
It's funny, there's this 30-second delay, right? And then you have to like anxiously wait for the reply to come
It's
in
it's
because
more
it
like
takes
10 seconds, but yeah, it's still more. It's still awkward that way.
so with the like from the time when someone hears it to the time they type it back and it's like 30 to 40 seconds. Right?
Yeah, I see a yes in the chat, so we'll proceed in a couple of minutes. So I'll wait for other people to join in. So Sanyam, where are you based currently?
I'm in Dehradun.
Okay, Dehradun. I was actually born there as well, so
Oh, interesting.
I've known that place. How's the weather there? I haven't
What
been
it
there in
is.
a bit.
It's really cold. Really cold. It's surprisingly too cold for Feb. Like usually by the Feb, like it's the time when spring is rolling back in, right? Have you lived here?
Hmm. Yeah, I was born there. I lived so my from my place, Masuri was just visible. I was that close to
Hmm.
Masuri. So
Yeah.
I was in Rajendra Nagar actually, and it used
I'm
to be
very
cold. But
close to that.
I was a kid, but then I got used to it.
Small world. I'm very close to Rajendra Nagar. But yeah, like
Acha.
usually by Feb you would have the spring rolling in. Right now it's just winter. Are you guys
Hmm.
in Guwahati or are you all studying from?
No, we're back home. Right now we're back home. I think Arsh is in Guwahati, but the rest of us
Yeah, I'm
back
still
home.
in college. Yeah.
Zoom college also includes Zoom exams or how's that going right
It differs from
now? You
department to
can
department.
okay. You don't have to answer that if that gets you into trouble.
I'm expecting, there's no professors on the stream, but if there are, good evening, sir. But without any further ado, let's get into it. So I have with me here Debarshi, who is the projects manager at Consulting Analytics Lab. We have Arsh, who is the analytics head. Myself, Utkarsh, I'm the outreach head at CNA, and of course we have Sanyam, who is I mean I don't know, I have to introduce him because he's such a legend we have amongst our midst. So he is a veteran in machine learning who has had stints with giant companies like Intel, Mahindra, ONGC, and along with his experience, he loves to give back to the community in the form of blogs, community content, and his very own podcast, which is called Chai Time Data Science. As the name suggests, this aims to connect the general public with machine learning legends like researchers, accomplished practitioners, and cavilers. Sanyam is currently a deep learning engineer at Weights and Biases, a San Francisco firm that, put simply, builds better tools for machine learning. Their products are deployed on the cutting edge by companies like NVIDIA, Lyft, Samsung, Toyota, and OpenAI, to name a few. Sanyam is also the community lead at WNB, and today, with the help of his innate love for data science, he'll be showing you all how to make your life easier with respect to machine learning. So, over to you, Sanyam. Uh, you know, um, I'll just share your screen there.
Awesome.
Can you confirm if it's visible to all of you in the chat?
While I wait for others to confirm, thanks Utkar for making me look so good. I should copy your introduction of weights and biases. I don't think I introduced it so well. Thanks to that as well.
Fair enough.
Are the slides visible to everyone? Should I continue?
I think it's showing a black screen right now, Sanyam.
Yeah, that's a problem with screen sharing sometimes. So if you share your slides, they end up. I'll probably just present from this view. So if I enter slideshow, it just
Yeah, it's
goes
good
into
enough.
a black screen. Sounds good. Awesome. So thank you so much, Utkarsh, for this lovely introduction. I'm super excited to be talking to you all today. I'll speak about reproducible machine learning. That's one problem among many that we try to solve with weights and biases. Weights and biases is a set of tools for machine learning engineers or developers. I'll be talking more about that, but I want to set up the premise of why this is such a big problem that an entire company, an entire unicorn exists just to tackle the problems. There's an entire field called MLOps that exists to tackle this problem. And I'd also love to showcase or give a short demo around weights and biases, after which I have a Kaggle competition plan where we'll try to also apply all of this stuff to a small competition. I think it'll go on for 40 minutes. So fortunately or unfortunately, you'll have to listen to me for the first 30 minutes. And here's the agenda for today. So I'll quickly introduce myself. What do I do at Weights and Biases? What are the problems with making machine learning reproducible? And I was thinking of what should I bring to the table. I'm not from a prestigious institute like IIT, so what could I possibly tell everyone? And the thing that came to mind was I should probably talk about my mistakes, because if I can help anyone avoid them, although I don't think anyone would be making them, probably that's a useful thing for you all. And after that, I'll do a quick demo of weights and biases, and we can get started with the Kaggle competition. So, like Utkarsh mentioned, I mostly drink chai and make content for the community. I started my content creator journey with a blog, which got to a large audience. Then I challenged myself to start a podcast, which then surpassed it. It was one of the top stream podcasts in Kaggle community, and right now I'm focused on video. I'm trying to get to that number so that I can then write on my resume I'm a full stack machine learning content creator. That's the end goal for me. But I've had this weird or rough start in the world of machine learning, wherein I discovered it while being in university, and there were no formal trainings or courses. I wasn't at a job that could teach me the best practices, so I jumped onto Kaggle. I think it's a fantastic platform. Debashi was also there on the panel. He's been doing awesome stuff. I was actually just reading about his post on, I think, gem pooling on the Happy Whale competition. So I'm not the best person to talk about this. He's been doing awesome stuff. But I got this start through Kaggle in my journey, and which meant that I, of course, haven't learned a lot of things. It's still to this date, I just sometimes lazily upload files to GitHub because I'm too scared to write a commit message. And I imagine this is me with my chai cup saying this is fine, which it really not is. So I probably want to share the multi-dimensionality just to set up the premise of machine learning experiments. The bread and butter of software development, or even machine learning for that matter, is code. And then comes the question of what goes into this code, right? You're feeding in data sets. Hopefully, everyone would have graduated from MNIST, Titanic data sets at this point. And once you get out of those, especially once you get to any data set that's not in the most defined fashion, it becomes an independent problem to keep a track of how you're working with it, how you're versioning it, what changes are you making, what transformations are you making. Then what comes out of the code, right? Especially if you're working with deep learning, we just had Eleuther AI release a 20 billion parameter model this week, and you need some place to store those model weights, those model outputs, right? The Eleuther AI is an outlier though, because that can run on a GPU that has more memory than I think 40 GPU or something. So it's a total outlier, but still you need some way to capture all of that info. And then you have the problem of having multiple code files. If you're following the best practices, you could have an input Python file, a file that pre-processes your stuff, loads it into memory, one that has your training scripts in there, all of these things. And then once you're done, if you're like me, you probably wouldn't have documented your code at all. And then the question is, how did you even arrive at these files? So for that reason, I believe experiments in machine learning are really multidimensional. So one of the ways to handle code is GitHub. GitHub is really awesome at that. For the model weights and data sets, you could probably use cloud storage. But then people really don't think about this. Some of the impactful models have been around for a really long time, right? Think of Resonate. It came out 5 years ago, actually 7 years ago, sorry. And that's a really long time in machine learning. Now, assumably, if that person who created these model weights leaves that institute, how do you track those model weights down? They go away with their Gmail ID, right? Assumably, if they've uploaded to Google Drive or whatever drive. So, and that's of course not the best way. You could wget stuff from there, but again, that's not what it's been designed for. You could probably use Copilot if you have access, or I think it's still free to use. It's still in beta. So while we have that, we could probably use that. And at this point, you would probably not know how did you arrive at different files. Here are some of the blunders that I have made. So I was talking about Kaggle, and these are from, if you look closely, 2019. So 3 years ago, hopefully things have changed since then. I wanted to include even more colorful spreadsheets, but the language there would have uh, made Utkarsh kick me off the live stream. So this says notebook mein dekh le. The other ones, although like I, of course, all of these spreadsheets I believe are started with a very aspirational uh, hope that you would be documenting this stuff really well, right? So for the first experiment I ever ran, which went on for 29 hours, 29 hours for an experiment. After that, I of course lost all hope because, as you can see, the accuracy was really low for this example that I was running, and then it just became notebook mein dekh le. So spreadsheets are one of the ways of tracking, but it's really hard to do that. Then Kaggle allows you to include some metadata, basically submission details. Either I had zero details, or I still can't tell you what this is. So I'm doing some sort of an ensemble here. I think this was by my teammate, but we were working together. So nothing against him. This was a fantastic teammate. But then again, like, you can't make head or tail out of it, right? And then the problem isn't the fact that, hey, this model worked. It's the fact that how do you take this and make it usable? That's just not possible. I would share code and data sets like so. I would not even name my IPython files and not even document my code. I would just create a new IPython notebook every time. These are very real Telegram chats. Life hack, you can add yourself to a group in which you are the only member. To do that, add your best friend, kick them off the group, and now you have this cloud storage where you can upload model weights, presentations, file outputs, even your EDA on the left. And funnily, Telegram, I don't think it has a cap on this. So this is how I would track my code and data sets. And of course, this is not fine. By this time, I don't even think the chai would be tasting good. So why reproducibility isn't being tackled in the best way? Why is it a lot of effort? There are barriers to reproducibility. Some institutes, nothing against this form of research. Of course, it's interesting for the field. But some labs use a lot of resources and then don't publish the models, and you're just left with a collab like the cat there. And then there's a hindrance to even pushing your code to GitHub. Part of it is because there's no incentive around it. But part of it is also because it's really hard to do that, right? If you can, I'm a very lazy person. I was just chatting with Utkarsh of the live stream, and you can see two monitors behind me. So I use that one to code, that one to game. And once, yes, this happened yesterday. I had to actually shut down my PC. So instead of getting up and walking over till here, I SSH'd and shut off the PC. So that speaks to the developers at a broad level, I hope, although no one would be as lazy as I am. But you want it to be a minimal frictional path for everyone, right? So there's, first of all, there are limited incentives, and there's like a huge upfront effort required. It's a challenge just to make sure you're writing code in the best fashion. On top of that, if you add different dimensions of having versioning your data set, uploading the model weights at every step of the process. Because remember, machine learning experiments aren't a one-step go, right? The output you get comes out of 500 to 1,000 experiments. And the knowledge that is gained through that is just buried inside of those experiments. I was just checking out Yannick Kilcher's video with the founder of Eleuther AI. And in there, they mentioned something interesting. People have been using, I believe, atom W or a beta parameter in that just because Alec Radford has been. Imagine if that was very well documented, right? They could have applied it in the best fashion possible. And these are the benefits of reproducibility, right? Papers with code exist because it's hard to track down papers and they're open source code. The idea of research is to be able to iterate upon ideas very quickly. If all the research projects are very well documented, if they come out with a nice repository, set of weights, everything, you can easily build on top of that. Even other things, it's really easy for other people to collaborate with you if they want to work with you, and it ensures continuity of your work, so people keep building on top of it. And like I said, it's a multi-dimensional problem. So a few ways of tackling this is you could use GitHub, you could use Docker, and you could use weights and biases for a different set of tools. What is weights and biases? If you think of, if you're in the industry, you would not like Jira if you work as a software engineer because you keep getting assigned tickets there. But it's a known go-to platform, right, for Scrum workflows or just for workflows where you get assigned tickets, which you absolutely hate, and then you come back the next week with some excuse of a blocker so that you can postpone another ticket and then you get assigned another one. We want to be not in the bad light, but we want to be a tool that is synonymous with machine learning. And here's how we're tackling that. I don't know about you guys, but I actually cried when, spoiler alert, Iron Man died in this movie. And we hope to make everyone cry tears of joy with our tools. It's a multi-dimensional problem that we're solving. So with weights and biases, we try to tackle experiment tracking. We make collaborative analysis easy for everyone. We make data versioning easy for everyone. And we make it very easy to evaluate and optimize your model. So it becomes this infinity gauntlet that can snap away your problems in MLOps, I believe. And these are the different ways how we track it. So we have internal lanes for all of these things. I'll quickly give a demo as well, so I'll skip over these right now. And the thing I mentioned earlier about me being super lazy, right? So usually you're stealing code from Debarshi. Debarshi would put out an awesome kernel on Kaggle, which I want to steal and add to my idea. I think he writes in PyTorch mostly. I might be wrong. So if that's in PyTorch, and if I work in TensorFlow, that's an added overhead, right? Like if I want to switch frameworks and make everything tracked. Weights and biases actually makes it really easy just to track all of these things. So we're quite framework agnostic. And also if in your office space like me, you have a PC and at work, if you have AWS or GCP, it's quite environment agnostic as well. So to get started, all this talk about how does it make your life easy and how are things easy. You can pip install weights and biases. It's a Python package. You can pip install WantDB. We actually had a debate on Twitter on how to pronounce this. So I'd be curious to know if others have a different pronunciation of it. I call it WantDB. And then with about 4 lines of code, you're good to go. You just need to import, log your project, save your configuration, and then send the metrics to a project workspace where you're tracking all of this. And from that, you get a really nice set of dashboards and everything is tracked in there. So I'll probably switch over to Colab, which has kicked me off. I'll have to reconnect real quick. So what I'm going to do now is give a very short demo of how weights and biases works. So just to sum up real quick, it's a set of tools that make your life easy when working with machine learning models by helping you tackle all of these dimensions, which are tracking your experiments, making it easy to collaborate with people, making it easy to version your data sets, evaluate a model, and then optimize them by being able to run hyperparameter sweeps. So I'm connected now, hopefully. I'll zoom in a bit just to make sure everyone can read this. So we're installing WantDB, and I'll say yes and run that step. and I'll have to log in because I believe I haven't logged in yet. This is just a short intro demo, and I had sent the links to Utkarsh for sharing with everyone, so you can check this out if you're interested. All right, so it's asking me to share my API key. Please don't anyone copy this because then I'll be surprised of how are these awesome experiments coming to this. It didn't expose the complete API. I was just kidding. So now I've logged in to this collab notebook, and now I'm all set to run an experiment, start runs, and start tracking my experiment. So this is an absolutely random run where just for namesake, we're saying, here's the learning rate, here's an architecture, here's the data set, here are the number of epochs. WantDB, please initialize this project, and we'll be logging accuracy and loss. Not that these are in any way meaningful because all of this is mostly random. And then we'll say, let's please finish this visualization and let me visualize the results in my dashboard. So I'll give this a second to run real quick. It's 5 experiments, so I think it'll take just 3 or 4 seconds. I see someone saying it's they pronounce it as font dub. That's a new one. I haven't heard of that ever. Interesting. Awesome. So I think I can head over to my dashboard at this point. So this is where you start to get some Tony Stark-like vibes, right? Because now I can monitor everything in the world of my machine learning experiments from a dashboard. And inside of here, you can monitor a lot of things. So this is a very vanilla example. Inside of the collab I was using, you'll actually, furthermore in the experiment, you'll actually create a PyTorch neural network as well that'll get logged. But just for the sake of this demo, I'm skipping over that. You can check that collab out. And a few things are already happening. So as the experiment is being run, I can start monitoring my loss and accuracy values right from here. And if I want, now this particular example doesn't have a lot of things going for it, but I can add other charts as well. So I can select, let's say if the learning rate is fluctuating, if you're using a learning rate scheduler and you want to plot it against different things, you could select that and plot it against. Right now, it's just absolute values. That's an oversight on my part. But as you can see, I'm giving a bad example. You could, based on the things you're running, you could add more panels here. You could move things around. You could do a lot of things. This has also managed to capture CPU utilization, memory, all of those details. It's not a graph because right now it's just one data point. The reason I'm showing all of this to you is earlier I mentioned it should be a minimal process, right? So just with that 3 lines of code, all of this rich information is already being captured. And apart from that, you can also see the relevant files being uploaded here. So let's take a look at other examples. I'll be jumping around similar projects and showcasing different runs to you. So this is a project by our CEO. I would trust myself to be in really good hands here. And what's going on here is we're working with, I believe, FMNIST dataset, fashion MNIST dataset. And we're working in Keras. So to work with Keras, you just need to add one callback, which is the want dub callback, which I just learned of today. That's a new name. And you can pass that callback whenever you're sending the callbacks to the model fit function. Just with that one line, a lot of things get captured immediately. So first of all, we're also able to track down our data set or set of predictions here inside of artifacts. We can also see the system information. Why is this useful? If, like me, you are a lazy developer, you probably wouldn't benchmark your code at all. And this is a life hack, at least for me. If I see the GPU utilization here dropping a lot, that means I haven't written my code in the best fashion. I'll go back and debug it then. Instead of upfront benchmarking it, uh, this is my 200 IQ move, so to speak. But it really makes your life easy to capture things like that. And then you get this nice set of different charts over which you can take a look over everything. You can also see how our things going inside the model at different steps or epochs. So we can see the examples that are being passed to the model. And then we have a nice visualization as well, to which you can query. So this, I can add stuff here, query different things and take a look around what's working, what's not working for the model. So all of this is being captured just with a few lines of code. And let's take a look at what other things can be done as well. So if you want, you can also capture your data set and models. All of these get uploaded to your workspace or project. And the cool thing about here is you can add your notes, add stuff here. You can see a nice graph view of how this is working. So probably using a file called load data, which works with the data set. And here's the workflow that goes into that, right? So by default, this is really hard to capture with a GitHub repo. You can see these files, but again, you have to include very thorough notes on how to go about this process. So this, I believe, really makes it easy in a way. Earlier, I had mentioned the ability to run hyperparameter sweeps, and that is totally possible. We literally call it sweeps. So I'll showcase one example to you all. And when you run a sweep, it's just a single line that you have to pass, and we follow a Bayesian approach to suggesting different parameters as well. But inside of this, I get a lot of knowledge about how different experiments worked with my loss values. I can see batch losses are looking good for a lot of things. Again, I can zoom in, change things if I want. If I want to zoom into this part, I can reset the values on the y-axis. So let's say the maximum is 40. Sorry, the minimum is 0. The maximum is, let's say, 40. Now I can take a good look of which model is converging towards, etc. I'll cancel that because that doesn't have much value. And this is one of my favorite plots. I like staring at this a lot, but this makes it super easy after you run a hyperparameter sweep to really just take a look at which experiment had the lowest loss. So it looks like this one had the lowest loss, which would be Frosty Sweep 2. By the way, I'm a huge fan of how we automatically name your runs, and then you can go back and take a look at what was working here, what wasn't working here. Here's a tense plot. So if you manage to run 400 runs, this is how the plot would look like. And again, as a machine learning engineer or a developer, you would be running at least so many experiments, I would really imagine. It's also really easy to visualize all of this inside of what we call tables. And if I want, I can select all of these models, and from there, let's say I want to filter based on, I don't know, sort by batch size. So let's say if I'm working on a small GPU, I would probably sort it like so and start with this model because it has the smallest batch size. So as you can see, it's really easy to do a lot of things here. If you want, you can also go back and investigate all of these things and take a look at which outputs are inaccurately predicted and all those things. Finally, we allow you to write reports around all of these. So why even run all of this if you can't share your knowledge? So if you want, after you've captured all of this knowledge, this is a report by my colleague Boris. He's absolutely incredible, and this is called Dolly Mini. I would highly encourage everyone to check this out. Once you've run all of these experiments, you can capture all of those graphs and embed them inside of a blog post. We call it reports because it really is like a report. As you can see, it's really easy to document all of these things, and it makes life really easy, I believe, by being able to embed different things coming straight from the dashboard. So I can see different hyperparameters inside of here, different loss graphs. So coming back to this picture again, I believe through all of these things that I've just showcased in a minute or two again, Utkarsh will be sending all of these links to you, and I'm happy to take any questions. I really believe 1DB makes your life a lot easier. That was it for the quick demo that I wanted to give. I'm happy to take any questions, and from there I'll start talking about the Kaggle competition we are setting.
Right. So while they're asking questions, we're also send the materials, the starter notebook that was just presented, and the link to the data science sprint. We'll put that in the chat, and you guys can access that. So if there are any questions for Sanyam, we'll take them right now, and I'll just send over the materials as well. Sanyam, do you send over the competition right now?
Yes, please do that. Awesome. I don't see any questions right now, so maybe I did a good job or an absolute terrible job. We'll find out. If you invite me again, that means I did okay.
I'm sure they're dazzled by the depth of knowledge that One Dub presents.
That's a new one, though. I'll have to tell the team of this pronunciation.
So we've linked the materials in the chat. They might be on two separate, messages because of the limit YouTube puts.
Awesome. You can also put that link up as a banner if you want. So if you just highlight that message, just the link to the competition. I'll request everyone to use that link to join this Kaggle competition. And once you've signed up, join the thing, I'll give you more details. In the meantime, I'll give you a quick rundown of a collab to get you started. So in this Kaggle competition, we have a task to, let me pull that up as well, very quick. Copy that link, paste it over here. So hopefully you should be able to join this, accept the rules which say don't cheat. I think I'd put some simple rules. Don't cheat, apply yourself and have fun. So this competition requires you to classify beans from, I believe, 12 different classes. It's a straightforward classification problem. I assume everyone will be very familiar with all of these things. And you'll have to submit your predictions to get ranked. As a quick note, I'm sure most of you would be familiar with this, but Kaggle allows you to split your dataset between public and private leaderboard. Private leaderboard has a separate test dataset. So here it says the leaderboard is calculated with about 30% of the test data, and the final results will be based on the other 70%. So we'll see how everyone ranks. I've set up a collab to get everyone started, and I'll start giving a rundown of that. So inside of this, you'll be prompted to sign up for 1B and install scikit-learn. I am feeling a bit lazy to connect my collab. I'll quickly do that and rerun all the cells. I'm not sure if any one of you is on the recent version of macOS, but Safari has been crashing a lot for me. So let's see. I think we're good. I can continue running through this. So we'll set up a log function to allow logging all of these files to widths and biases dashboard. If you want, you should uncomment this line once you're ready to log all of these experiments. And we're setting the project name as Beans Tabular IITG. we're setting a data directory and artifact path. So we've already uploaded this data set to bits and bytes space from where you can download this data set. And it's asking me to authorize. I think I should have the link copied. Still, I'll quickly copy it. So once I've initialized and set up the logging functions in there, I'll authorize the workspace, initialize the project with the name being Stabler ITG, set the job type to download dataset, grab the dataset and download it. So inside of this collab, I managed to set up the dataset without any problems. From there, we can take a look inside of what is inside of the data, what's inside the training one or the training data frame, and we can also load in the validation and test data frame. So as you can see, it has a bunch of columns: area, perimeter, axis length, aspect ratio, all of those things. And at the end, we'll have to predict the classes based on all of these parameters. So we'll be using scikit-learn for that, as I mentioned. And inside of the test dataset, you can see that all of these exist except for the target class, which is class. The target class, which is the class of the beans, is not there in test dataset. So here we'll be prepping our dataset and we'll be encoding X and Y values. So I'm calling label encoder, and we're doing a bunch of transforms that we're applying to the datasets. From there, we can do some sort of EDA to for our datasets as well. We can load them to tables, and at this point, we're already good to train our first classifier, which is a random forest classifier. So now we can initialize the project and declare our model to be a random forest classifier. I invite everyone to try even fancier models. This makes my life easy for a demo, so that's why we're using this. Inside of that, we fit it to Xtrain and Bytrain, and we grab all of the importances. After that, we're good to log our matrix. So we can log the value of Y validation and Y prediction. And we can also visualize our model performance. So we can log a confusion matrix by calling the Vonby plot confusion matrix function. And we can also take a look at ROC curve, precision recall, all of those details. You can also take a look at feature importances. So inside of your dashboard, once you log all of this, you should be able to see all of this. And then you can finish your first run to get a nice overview. So at this point, you've trained your first Kaggle submission and you're good to go. So as you can see, I had logged all of these and I can see the feature importances for different things here. I can see, I think this is the confusion matrix, if I'm not too wrong. You can see the precision recall, the ROC curve, and you also have a nice visualization table. And if I keep scrolling, I think this will take a second to load. So this is the feature importance table. And if you want, you can also sort this and make it in an ascending order of different features that are important, and then you can do some feature engineering if you want. So at this point, it's good to submit to the Kaggle competition. So all you'd have to do for that is create a data frame, and this collab should help you download it as well. From there, I would invite you all to just download this data frame and submit it to Kaggle. Just go to the leaderboard and click submit predictions, upload that particular file. Please add some nice description and don't write notebook mein dekh le hai. Furthermore, I think this is where you get to really shine out. So I mentioned earlier, we allow you to run hyperparameter sweeps. So inside of this collab, we have set up a hyperparameter sweep for all of you to play around with. And I'll give one hint here. Not all values are set according to the best performing ones. So feel free to play around with that. And once you run this parameter sweep, you'll be training a bunch of models. And from that, you can then, from these 50 runs, you can then download the best performing one and then upload to Kaggle. So I believe, I'm not sure how many, but we'll be sending some swag to the winners here. And I think this is all I wanted to give for the introduction. Now I'll let everyone download these and start submitting to the competition. Happy to take any questions in the meantime. Utkarsh, you muted.
Sorry. So could you talk about the data set as well, so that the attendees have a context for what they're supposed to do?
Sure. Actually, this comes from the UCI repository. So let's say which one of these plots would be the best example, or I'll probably go back here. And so as I mentioned earlier, it's a bunch of beans, so different beans, and we have, I think, 12 features that come along with them. Sorry, we have 12 classes of beans, and I'm forgetting how many features. So using all of these features, we're supposed to predict which class of a bean is uh, the given sample inside of test data set form. What is the performance metric for the leaderboard? I think it's categorization accuracy.
So
It's
we
always
have
these.
a commenter asking, if there's any cost of using WandUp. So
Hmm?
I'm assuming it's free for everyone who uses it for personal users. Is that the case?
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Okay.
There's I think, quite a generous limit of up to 100 gigs of model weights and whatnot that you can log. Beyond that, I would just clean up my dashboard and continue using it. Or if you'd like to give us your money, please feel free to get in touch. If you want to use it with a team of multiple people, there's a cost with that as well after a certain number of hours. And since I assume everyone here is in a university, it's absolutely free for academic purposes.
All right, that's wonderful. Are there any questions, regarding the presentation that Sayim talked about? Oh, we'll be happy to answer them.
Devarshi, are you submitting to this competition, or is this a waste of time for you?
Yeah, not right now.
No?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure he'll kick back the competition once he does that.
So you shared the Google sheet, right? So for me also, in my first competition, I had a similar experience. I was writing in Google Sheets, and then after
Interesting.
that, I think the first 5 to 6, I filled the first 5 to 6 experiments, and then I stopped.
Yeah, you always start with this aspirational hope that, hey, I'll be documenting everything, right? And then it just goes away.
Yeah, right.
We have Sanskar asking if it's limited only to IT Guwahati students. No, Sanskar, it's not. You can get anyone who's watching the stream to get in and participate in the competition.
I found one Google sheet by, I'm not sure, Deboshi, if you're familiar with him. He's Radar. I think he was before our generation of Kagglers. Absolute legend. I think he ranked in the top five, if not. Let me actually see that. I don't know. I think he was one of the top ranked Kagglers ever while he was competing. So he had shared this Google sheet in one of his Slack workspaces. He was in the top five of world rankings in competition at his peak of competing. So this is the best ever documented sheet I have ever come across, where you have a lot of details.
Yeah,
But
that's great. I can never imagine doing something like this.
yeah, I didn't know you could color code stuff for a long time. I only
Yeah.
learned of that very recently, last year, I think. right around a few minutes into it, right, you start seeing these submissions rolling in, and then that's when it gets exciting. So I think we'll leave this open until 6:30 p.m. and then we can announce the winners.
So Sanyam, do you do you watch MCU movies by any chance?
I don't know. Can you tell? How can you tell?
I don't know. I mean, I just had this question. So people say that data is the new oil of the 21st century, but you also have wars being fought over oil. By a certain Western power. So do you think that it's going to be any situation? The situation is going to be that dire in the coming years, that people are fighting wars over data? Because in one of the MCU movies, I believe it was Winter Soldier, they made an algorithm for people who haven't watched it. They made an algorithm, where you could, essentially put in every detail of the person, from the bank records to the SAT scores, and that was essentially predict the future of that person. So, would you, do you think it's getting to that level, where people are able to project what you're going to do next? Because we already have, e-commerce suppliers predicting what you want to buy in the future based on your purchase history. So are we going to get into that situation where data becomes the new oil, but in both senses of the word, like both
I'm not
in
the.
terms of its importance, or and on the front that people that the governments are very interested in that.
That's a great question. I'm not the right person to answer that, and I try not to think about these broader topics a lot. Again, it's involving a lot of political powers and different stuff like that. To me, it's quite simple. That when I started machine learning, it was 2016, and at that point, it wasn't clear if you could even have a career in India. The thing that I think matters to most of us is, can you make money trying to do this thing because it's interesting enough to everyone? I think yes. Are are data sets expensive? Absolutely. Are financial? Have you ever looked at financial data sets? Hedge funds sell their data, if at all, for millions, north of millions of dollars. So those wars are already being fought in different sectors of the industries. Is it a war? I don't think so. It's worth the money to some people. That's why they pay for that. But again, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? Your models are only as good as the data. So we've seen for large language models that they have negative, I want to say, to be cautious or even racist tendencies. If you poke at them with the correct prompts, they can generate all of that. That's because they've been trained on such a large corpus from the internet that they have managed to capture all of that as well. So again, it's garbage in, garbage out. If your data is worth a large amount of money, people will pay for it no matter what. That's my take on that.
That's interesting because most people would not worry about the philosophical aspects, because you have people fighting in militaries all over, even though people realize that militaries are not. I mean, militaries of course are a prestigious career option, but for some people that sort of lifestyle is not suitable. But you still have people registering and signing up for that because that's what they want to do. So on the whole, people do not worry about ethicality at every point. So that's a good take.
I mean, you should definitely think about the ethics of different things. Am I the right person to comment on that? Absolutely not. I just make content for the community, and there's a lot of effort that goes into that. There's a lot of care that goes into that as well. I try to be at my utmost ethical practices there, the best practices that I can. Have I thought about it? Yes, but am I the right person to talk about it? I don't think so. So I would encourage, on the topic of ethics, everyone to check out Rachel Thomas's course on ethics, because they can find that. So Rachel Thomas is the co-founder of FastAI, which is one of the world's best not one of the world's best deep learning course. There's also practical data ethics course there. It's on ethics.fast.ai. Again, all of these broader questions are much better addressed here.
So we have Aditya asking if it's allowed to team up. Sanyam, I assume it's not allowed to team up, right?
It's
You're not
not
allowed to
allowed
team
to
up.
team up.
Right.
So Team Pandas, which is Surya, has made two submissions already. That's interesting to see, and we can see people are already improving. I'm quite surprised because usually whenever we do these competitions, it's not always experts, but you all are way ahead of the curve already, so it should be easier for you to get started. This is my gateway to many people to get them into the Kaggle community. It looks like many people are already a part of it, so that's great to see.
We have
Yeah, so
another
there is,
interesting question
yeah,
from Aditya. Asking if an undergraduate student should pursue masters in this field, or if it's not no longer necessary because the amount of courses you get online.
Depends on what your end goal is, right? So some jobs still require you to have master's degree if you're trying to get into those institutes. Maybe yes. If you need access to a certain country, because that's one gateway to that, yes. If you think you want to work in this field, there are much better ways than just pursuing a master. If many people try to postpone their decision of what to do in life by taking up a master, because then you don't have to worry about going through interviews and whatnot, at least for 2 another years. Don't do that. I see many of my peers do that. It's not the best route. So instead of, it's at least, I would say, 20,000 US dollars if you pursue it in India, north of 5 to 6 digits if you do it in countries abroad. If you're just doing it for that reason, please reevaluate and think what your priorities are or what you want to get out of it. If you're a Kaggle master like Debarshi is, that's a good enough resume. Many companies just will hire you based on that.
yeah. So Sam, I had another question. Like, I have seen the Chai Time Data Science 2.0 podcast. So in that you go behind the journey of the Kaggle, right? So like, can you detail about your journey, like how you started about machine learning and how it has been going on?
Yeah, thanks. I don't have a very interesting journey, honestly. So I stumbled across this just through some college clubs, and that I got interested in machine learning. I found FastAI, which is the only course I would recommend, and from there I started caggling, got to the top 1% in competitions and among other tiers as well. Back in my day, they just used to be 3 tiers. Now there's four. And then I decided I enjoy creating content, so I went on of this tangent from which I never returned back to Kaggle from, which is creating content for the community.
That's it. Yeah.
It's this weird pursuit of passion that has been happening in absolutely no order. So if you go to my profile, I don't know if I still have it on there. I still have a certificate saying that I'm a flying car engineer, which came from a degree on Udacity. So it's a lot of uh, unplanned tangents that I have gone off on. Again, this is a public leaderboard, so who knows? Maybe Ayush could be on top. We'll only find out the private leaderboard.
So Sanyam, we're I'd like to tell you about one of the competitions we're organizing in parallel to this webinar. So the club has a competition called Cascade Cup, and so this year we have about 1,000 participations from all over,
Interesting.
and it was open to people all across the world. And I believe we have a few viewers from there as well. So they might have they'll see this as a learning experience, and I feel they'll apply more up to their projects. The hackathon that is currently ongoing as part of Cascade Cup.
Mhm.
So I'll tell you about the rounds we have in there as well. So the first round was data science quiz that was given by everyone. It talked about certain fundamentals related to machine learning, supervised, unsupervised, evaluation metrics and all. And the second round is the hackathon that's going on currently. It's based on Shadowfax. You might know Shadowfax is a logistics company, and the ground statement is based on Shadowfax's own operations. And the third round that we have is essentially going to be a data analysis report that is going to be evaluated by representatives from Shadowfax and from the club itself. So just wanted to
Interesting.
give you a bit of context as to what kind of crowd we might be expecting,
Mhm.
on the leaderboard.
I think Vivek just put in his, sorry, Vishwanathan just put in his second submission a second ago. I was hoping to see a bit of jumbling going on as the submissions start coming in. Awesome. So, do you want to continue the live stream until the end of the slot, or should we just announce the winners after a while?
Right. So, as and when for the submissions start coming in, we'll need to get across to the winners as well. So, what we'll do is, we'll give you our email ID in the chat below, and you can email us with your notebook and the approach that you used, and according to the scores on the private leaderboard, what we can do is, we can disperse the goodies as and when necessary. Does that work, Sayam?
Yeah, you don't need to send in your notebooks. We can. I think this was supposed to go on until 6:30 p.m. So, uh, right around that time, we can check the private leaderboard. You're welcome to submit still, and based on that, we can just announce the winners.
Sure. For people who haven't been in the live stream, your friends and all, you haven't been able to attend the live stream. Even they are welcome to participate. And what we'll do is we'll drop in a, you can send them the link to this live stream, and they can refer to the materials. They're all linked in the description, and we're also linking our email ID so that we can send across your contact details. So when we have to approach you for the goodies, we
Mhm.
can do that.
Sounds good. I just realized we have a Kaggle Grandmaster. I apologize. I haven't seen your work earlier, but it's a Kaggle Grandmaster also taking part today. Cool. So, Kush, should I just leave the studio or how do you?
If there are no more questions, we're ending the broadcast. You can reach out to Sayam on his Twitter or on on his Instagram. I think he's using his tag over there. So
Not on
if there are no more
Instagram, please.
questions, that's not your
Not
Instagram.
on,
Okay, never mind.
not on Instagram.
So cool. We'll end the stream now. If there are no more questions, you can always reach out to him. On his social media. I think he has his podcast. Called Chai Time Data Science. I think you can reach out to him there as well. So thank you all. For spending your time here, and we're glad to have you, Sam, as well. I think your energy was reciprocated by the rest of the participants as well. I think we'll see that in the competition as well.
Yeah, I look
Thank you
forward
so
to that,
much.
and thanks again for having me. Thanks for inviting me, Devashi. This is awesome to connect with everyone, and yeah, I look forward to doing this again if you all would like to have me.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
sure.
it was an amazing session for
Yeah,
everyone.
even for us.
Yeah.
Is that an RGB CPUSE behind you? I'd like to talk to you
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, we were talking about that.
Okay, cool. We'll end the stream now, and you can direct any questions to us or Sanyam at his handles. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much.